Okay, so someone finally answered our questions for Stated's video. Hopefully this one doesn't suck at answering the questions and then later get embarrassed about it and delete the video. Let's see how this gentleman fares at answering our sincere questions. Government has slaughtered 250 million of its own people in acts of democide. Wait a second. That's it? You're not going to answer the question? You're just going to make fun of the fact that 250 million people were slaughtered by their own government and saying, hey, it's not a big deal when governments slaughter their own people. You might be the biggest piece of shit on this fucking planet. This is the most offensive answer to a sincere question I have ever seen. Here's some of the money government wasted. The government spent $1.4 million on an app that just simply points left and right for the TSA. That should have been done for way cheaper. Oh, that's not crazy enough for you? How about this? The government wasted $1.4 trillion. Okay, in just one of those examples, the government wasted $1.4 trillion on a jet that doesn't even fucking work. That's enough to home every single homeless person in the United States with a $600,000 home. And that's just one mistake. That's just $1 trillion. Then the next thing I say is that the government wasted $6.5 trillion. So if $1.4 trillion could home every single homeless person with a mansion, imagine what $6.4 trillion could do. Hell, imagine what they could do together. And what's your fucking response? Well, who cares if the government wastes $8 trillion? You know what, dude? Fuck you. I'm not even gonna watch the rest of your answers. Because, frankly, you're not even answering the goddamn question. You're just making fun of the fact that the government wastes half our tax money and kills hundreds of millions of people. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna power through and I'm gonna try to do this video.
If a kid couldn't afford lunch because the school bullies kept taking a percentage of his allowance, you wouldn't blame the kid's parents for not giving him enough. So why is it that when people struggle financially, you blame the employer who provides them with money and not the government which is taxing them?
Sorry, Freedom Toons. He didn't feel like answering this one either.
How come you want to ban things that you don't like? As long as they're not hurting other people, what's the big deal?
Okay, you were on for less than 10 seconds and I already don't like you. You seem weak to me. I don't like weak women. But I think you're talking about drugs, and as far as drugs go, I don't think there's any logical reason for them to be illegal.
So you cop out and agree with us, and then you insult the person asking the sincere question. Wow.
If I wanted to play devil's advocate, I would say worker productivity. That's the big deal. I think that's the reason why they're illegal. Personally, I think you should be fine to put whatever you want in your body. If your work slips, you can be fired and be replaced with somebody from the enormous pool of unemployed people that we have in this nation. I mean, that's the reason why that enormous pool of unemployed people exists. We have a government who believes that it's a practical thing for there to be a high unemployment rate because it means you can discipline the wage earners.
No, you fucking idiot. The reason why there's a high unemployment rate is because the government puts the economy in shambles. It's not some fucking conspiracy to keep you working hard, you fucking idiot. The government's actually incompetent. Did you not hear my facts before? The government is incompetent. It is violent.
Why is it that no matter how much money the government takes from its citizens, it's always broke?
Because the government's bookkeeping is only as good as the average Joe's.
Well, maybe because with government, there's no accountability. If they fuck up really, really, really bad, guess what? At the end of the day, they still get to take all your money. But with capitalism, when they fuck up, guess what? They could lose their job. They could lose their home. They could lose their car. There's actually accountability with capitalism, unlike with government. Anyways, with government, there's no accountability, so therefore, there's going to be people fucking up a lot.
It's because average Joes are the people who run the fucking Treasury Department. I mean, I'm sure you guys don't want intelligent people running the federal treasury because you don't want a federal treasury.
What the fuck?
But I personally desire that our finances be kept in check, in balance. There is a right way to do this, and it's not being done.
Oh, so you don't like the fact that the government wastes your money either. Just say, okay, you guys win.
If keeping 100% of someone else's income is slavery, then at what percentage is it no longer slavery?
99.9%. Well, you asked a hard question, you get a hard answer.
Well, slaves actually got fed and they got free rent, so looks like according to you, they weren't slaves.
Can a bunch of people who don't have the right to do a certain thing grant to somebody else the right to do it?
Yes, that is one of the functions of a government. At least a democratic government.
So me and my friends can give power to my cousin to rule over you and your neighbors? Interesting.
Why are you comfortable spending borrowed money knowing your children will have to pay it off down the line? You're increasing their eventual taxes before they can even vote. Isn't that the definition of taxation without representation?
Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck this guy's talking about. If somebody knows, please comment down below.
You slow fuck. You are taxing your children without consent.
You do realize
Oh, it's weak girl again. I'm skipping past you. I don't care.
Copped out of 4 questions so far. Probably more.
How can you rationalize basic philosophical concepts such as non-aggression principle as being quote-unquote too difficult for society to be educated on and abide by, yet believe that hundreds of thousands of pages of federal and state regulations, clauses, case files, and amendments are somehow easier?
I think you're comparing apples to oranges a little bit. The non-aggression principle is just that. It's a principle of how one ought to behave. Whereas laws that are written down are instructions on how to behave under threat of systemized force. I think it's easy enough for people to understand the non-aggression principle now, and it's also easy enough to read and understand law now. All you do is use money to hire a professional who will understand the law for you.
Well, not everybody can afford a lawyer. I certainly can't, so I have to figure it all out by myself. And in that case, in most cases, it's easier to understand the non-aggression principle than it is to understand the law as it currently is.
It's just that I don't have any trust in human beings to actually obey the non-aggression principle once the threat of systemized force breaks down. I don't obey the non-aggression principle now. I follow what I call the rational aggression principle.
Now listen to him try to act like a badass, some barbarian that would just take from the weak, even though clearly this guy is like a 120-pound fucking nerd that couldn't steal resources from anybody.
If an entity is weaker than me, and that entity has a resource that I desire, and the punishment for conquering that entity and getting that resource is less than the benefit of said resource, I'm probably going to go ahead and do it.
And if you did that in Ancapistan, you would get shot in the fucking face.
The only thing that's stopping me from going out and stealing and murdering people is the law, is the threat of retaliatory aggression from either police individuals or the individuals who I'm actually trying to steal from and kill, because we have freedom to bear arms.
Yes, and those people would still exist in Ancapistan, so you wouldn't be stealing from people in Ancapistan. So what the fuck are you talking about?
And everybody can go through some individual practical introspection and say to themselves, no, I'm not going to commit these actions because the possible benefit of committing these actions is less than the punishment for actually committing the action. The non-aggression principle only works if everybody agrees to it, but if one aggressive person surfaces and that person is powerful, in other words, if that person in an Ancap society is wealthy and they can hire the most guns, that person is going to develop his own government, essentially.
So let me get this straight. Your doomsday scenario for Ancapistan is that a government could form, something that you advocate. Okay, let's say Ancapistan was the United States, okay? So roughly 350 million people, roughly 350 million guns, so 350 million standing army, pretty much. And you think some small business or some large business can take over 350 million armed people? You're delusional.
If it's wrong for you to do a certain thing, can you, by voting, make it right for someone else to do the exact same thing?
I'm not sure I understand the question, because you used the words right and wrong, and I don't believe in right and wrong.
Oh, another cop-out answer. What a fucking surprise. So you don't believe in right or wrong, but here you are giving your opinions of what is right and wrong throughout this whole fucking questionnaire. And as soon as your right and wrong gets questioned, you suddenly don't believe in right and wrong. That's funny, dude. Gotta tell you, dude, can't wait for your next cop-out fucking answer because I know it's coming.
If people are innately good, what is the need for government? And if people are innately evil, what is to stop them using government to cause evil to one another?
I don't believe in good and evil.
Oh, another cop-out answer. That didn't take long. So if you don't believe in right and wrong, so I guess you probably think child rape is okay, right?
What, do these questions just get dumber as we go along? Yes, they do.
These questions aren't dumb. If people are evil, then why should these evil people rule over us? And why should we give power to them? These are extremely important questions.
And would it not be better that their influence be limited to that which they can achieve voluntarily, rather than to give them the added benefit of legitimized force?
There's another useful aspect of government, giving to the people in their minds the illusion of legitimized force, which can then become very useful to you.
Yes, people ruling over you could be very useful to you. Wait, what?
A major question that I have for proponents of state economic regulations in particular is how exactly can you sleep at night knowing the economic destruction that you have created? The effect of government regulations on output has been calculated to have an accumulated reduction cost on the American GDP of nearly $40 trillion just since 1949. In other words, absent of any federal economic regulations after World War II, we could have tripled our GDP. Every citizen could have an average income of $333,000 instead of $53,000.
Yeah, here's the thing. On average, that doesn't mean that the median income increase is going to be $333,000.
Stop trying to dance around the fact that people would be making 6 times more if it wasn't for government regulations. You fucking idiot.
In the absence of regulation, the people who have the lion's share of the increased wealth are going to be the corporation owners.
No, he said average income. You fucking idiot. Here are the things you can't do without government permission. Build a house, drive a car, own a gun, go fishing, collect rainwater, hunt, cross the road, get married, leave the country, start a business, fly on a commercial plane, take drugs, work. It's actually hard to think of something that doesn't require government permission. Knowing this, how can you say you're free?
I think your little whiny infantile bitching violates my non-aggression principle.
Oh my god, another fucking cop-out answer. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
If being a democratically elected constitutional republic creates legitimate political authority, does that mean that all the things that were done by the democratically elected constitutional republics of the Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, and North Korea, all those things were legitimate and justified?
Legitimate, yes. Justified, after weighing the evidence, I would say no.
Well, there you go. According to this guy, Nazi Germany's authority was legitimate.
If you're a proud, government-loving liberal who champions personal choice, could you please explain why I can't choose to not fund the murder of innocent children abroad?
Because we currently don't have the necessary liberty to do that. That's something that needs to be fixed.
And in over 200 years, it hasn't been fixed. Looks like you're never going to get around to fixing it, and most of that's due because you can't. Meaning the government doesn't represent its people, which is another example of why government sucks and should be eliminated.
If you've ever said there ought to be a law, or if you believe that government is the best solution to most of life's problems, I have one question for you. Are you prepared to kill?
Psychologically, yes, very much so.
So you're prepared to kill for the government that you have demonstrated doesn't represent you.
Physically, I don't own a firearm, but I'm pretty sure there are some lethal items around here somewhere.
There is no crime small enough that the government wouldn't kill you over. And this is okay to you, apparently. Jesus Christ.
You really want the same people who run the DMV to be in charge of your health care?
This is really stupid. The people running the DMV would not be the same people running the fucking healthcare. Because they're completely different fucking departments.
Wow, you went fucking brain dead, bro. The people, as in the public sector.
I love how people who consider themselves champions of individualism will suddenly become collectivists when it comes to describing the government.
Collectivism simply means that the group goals are more important than the individual's goals. You just used the word collectivism incorrectly, you fucking idiot.
Why is it that you prefer anti-discrimination laws which force those who hate other races to hide that prejudice and make money off of those other races, to a system where they could be open about said prejudice and lose money?
Oh, you're gonna skip this one too? Oh, okay.
Can you morally justify the federal government preventing a small territory from seceding from a larger country?
You're gonna skip this one too, then, I guess.
How is me writing down "I'm in charge" and then getting 20 friends to sign it any different from the drafting of the Constitution?
Gonna skip this one as well. Wow.
If roads are so complicated and magical that they can only be built by governments, then why do they hire private companies to actually build the eh? My fucking road!
Okay, you're skipping this one too? Dude, you lost. Do you understand this? You fucking lost. You skipped and sidestepped most of these questions. Why is every logical explanation we provide about how something will work just pure speculation, while any doomsday scenario you pull out of your ass about anarchism is absolute truth?
You know, I think I figured out why it is I don't like you. This is a phrasing of a question that can only be done by an ideologue. It presupposes, based on nothing, that all of your answers are logical and all of your opponent's answers are fabricated. Personally, I think a lot more experimentation needs to be done on this, with small-scale communities experimenting with anarchy.
How highly do you think of yourself that you think it's your right to impose your views on people you've never met and tell them it's good for them?
When I'm doing that, I feel roughly equal to most other people.
So if you think you're equal to them, then why would you think that you have the right to rule over them? The drug war kills more people than drugs itself. How can you say government is effective?
Motherfucker, I give you less than 10 seconds, and you still manage to contradict yourself. You say that the drug war kills more people than drugs itself, and then you go on to say immediately afterward that government isn't effective. Do you even listen to yourself when you fucking talk? Do you hear the words that come out of your mouth? The war on drugs was begun by the Nixon administration in order to make his re-election campaign in 1972 go smoother. It was an attempt to criminalize the behavior of the white counterculture and black America, who were far more likely to vote Democrat. And it worked. He got re-elected. The war on drugs was never intended to save lives. That's not what it was for.
So you're perfectly fine with droves of innocent people dying off to ensure somebody gets votes. Is that what you're saying? That's really what you're fucking saying right now. Okay, boys and girls and attack helicopters, that's pretty much it. Time for the outro screen. If you like this video, please follow me on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to help support the show, please hit that Patreon button. Thank you. To be notified when I release a new episode, be sure to hit the gear button by the subscribe button. It looks exactly like this. Then check the box that says send me all notifications for this channel. Thank you again.